As always, if you have any feedback, questions, you can email them in, podcast@glorifydonkey.com, or go to one of the social media platforms. Now, talking about social media, Short Game Chef, what's your most effective platform? Because you're on YouTube as Short Game Chef, you have a website, shortgamechef.com, where people for $99 can completely change their lives, and then you have Instagram. So what do you spend most of your time on? What's the crack?
Yeah, so I would say Instagram is where I would post a lot of videos, a lot of things that I sort of see on the internet that are helpful for people. I'll kind of post or repost there. I don't comment a ton on Instagram. I save that for the membership site, where again it's on shortgamechef.com. Once you become a member, then we have an app that you can download, log in, and on that app, there's a community section where you can post your swing. I make comments on that. People ask questions. Hey, I'm struggling with lag putts. Any drills that I can work on to help my lag putting, and I'll comment there, and I'll give detailed instructions as to how to get better at X, Y, or Z, or I will make specific suggestions on your swing. Like people will post their chip shots, their bunker shots. Hey, I'm struggling out of thick rough. This is what the lie looks like. This is what my swing looks like. And I'll even send a video. I'll send videos back of like, this is what I want you to do. This is how you should play this shot. This is where you're going wrong. This is where I think you could maybe improve.
That's big time hands-on.
Yeah, it's very.
Like, what do people charge? You could be charged $300 for a 1 hour lesson these days. You know what I mean?
You don't want to know what my hourly rate is. It's
not for that, but I'm saying like for to become a member of your website.
Yeah, totally.
And you're going to get that type of response. And you'll have a bunch of videos on there, correct, about different types of shots already. Yeah,
we've got 350 videos on there where, I go through soup to nuts of like crosshand chipping. Becomes super popular on tour. Stuart Sink on the Champions Tour, Matt Fitzpatrick, Matthew Pavon. It's gotten very, very popular as far as like a way to chip a golf ball. And so I've got the soup to nuts, hey, there's 15 videos, soup to nuts as to how to, if you want to start trying crosshand chipping, this is your A to Z guide as to how to do it. So that's on there. I've got everything from, plug bunker shots, regular bunker shots, flop shots, stock bump and run, pitch shots, putting, 50 to 125 yard shots, everything you could do. I sort of broke it down as sort of like chapters in a book and
recipes in a cookbook.
Recipes in a cookbook. Exactly right.
So every shot is then the recipe. Okay. And then the utensils. Let's start with the utensils. In your opinion, how many wedges should the average golfer have in his bag?
Well, I would probably start with how far does that player hit the golf ball with their driver. If you're somebody that hits it more than 240 yards, I would say it's okay to have a 60 degree.
Okay.
If you're somebody that hits it less than 240 yards, your highest lofted wedge should probably be 58 or 56.
Okay.
Because you need to be stacked more on the top end of your bag because you're going to have a lot longer clubs in. Right, so like if you're hitting it 200 yards off the tee, you're going to have a lot of hybrids, 9 woods, 7 woods, and you want to stack the top of your bag with more clubs because you're going to be hitting more of those. If you're a longer player, you're going to want more wedges in your bag, right? So that's where I would start is how far do you hit your driver, because then you can determine what your highest lofted wedge would be from that, and that's where I would start. So then you can kind of build a set from there.
And what's your opinion on wedges that are 60 to 64 degrees?
I
carry for a lot of people
with a 64 degree wedge.
With a 64 degree wedge.
I'm guessing that's their 15th club. If it's one of their 14, I think it's a waste.
Yeah.
I think if you, and again, it goes back to how far do you hit it off the tee. If you're somebody that hits it pretty far off the tee, absolutely 64 degree could be a really fun get out of jail free type of a club for you. But if you don't hit it very far, I don't think it's worth it. I really don't. I think you're better off with throwing a 9 wood in. I just threw a 7 wood in like a year ago, and I'm like, what in the world? How have I not had this in my bag earlier? This thing is awesome. And I was in the truck yesterday. We're here at the TaylorMade Invitational. I was at the TaylorMade truck yesterday getting some clubs regripped, and these guys were talking about a 9 wood, and they were like, this 9 wood's like cheating. It's so good, and it's like, well, shit, that might be the next thing I might go look into is grabbing a 9 wood.
Callaway, the Divine Nine, they used to call it.
Yeah, they're
7-7.
So far ahead of their time.
Okay, so I'm carrying for a lad this past week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and we get to the 17th hole on day 3, and he said to me, any tips you have about my swing, any feedback I can take away with me? Because we get asked a lot. We do see a lot of golf swings. We're not coaches, but you see a lot. I said, there's nothing wrong with your swing. Your swing's really good. You hit the hit fairways, you hit greens. I said, however, I says, look at your clubs. What do you mean? I says, well, you're trying to run a marathon with flip-flops. I says, why do you have a 56 and a 58?
Makes no sense.
I've used that for 15 years, and then that was my dad's. I don't care. You got to lose sentiment in the golf bag. And he didn't understand. What, in your opinion, should be the number of degrees between the wedges you have?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I see that quite a bit as well. Yeah, I would say in general you want 4 to 5 degrees in between each wedge. So if you're going to start, top end of your bag is a 58, you would then want to go 54 and then 50, and then have your pitching wedge as a 46.
So pitching wedge is typically 46.
Yeah, some of these companies have now gone down pitching wedge like a 44, which is basically a 9-iron loft, but in yesteryear. But pitching wedge is usually typically between 48 and 46 degrees of loft, and now some companies have, like I think PXG might have them at 44 degrees of loft. So, which is really just a 9-iron. Bryson might have his pitching wedge at like 41 degrees. I don't know, but anyway, I think if you can separate them by 4 degrees, would be great.
I love 54, 58. I really like that kind of. I've probably mentioned this in the podcast before, but 25 years ago, I played golf with a former pro, and I overheard him on the range say, I don't know why anyone has a 60-degree wedge in their bag. For every good shot you hit a bad one. So I played with him about 3 weeks later, and I had a 60. And you know what my swing thought was? It was his face. And sure enough, I was about 50. I was probably 40% success rate with a 60. So I like that 58, coming in, but I like that 54, 58.
Yeah, there's still some guys, like Rocco Mediate, for example, one of the best wedgers of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Rocco, I think he's got a 56.75 is where he's like, it's basically 57, but he's like, it's 56.75 of loft.
Yeah.
And that's his highest lofted wedge. And he can hit, you could stand, you're a tall guy. You could stand 5 feet in front of Rocco, and he would make a full swing and hit it right over your head with a 56. It's incredible.
Okay.
But here's the other thing I would say. My son went for a Titleist fitting a couple months back, and we flew out to Carlsbad, and they're starting to do some junior stuff for Titleist, and it's really cool. And so they wanted to photograph him going through a junior fitting because they're going to start to promote it more. And so they said, hey, well, how do you want to build his set? I said, well, his highest lofted wedge is going to be a 56. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, not a 60? I said, no. He needs to learn how to take a lower lofted club and add more loft to it around the greens. I don't want him taking a 64 and trying to de-loft it. That is not what we're looking to do. That is not a skill set that I necessarily think is important. The better skill set is to take a 56 degree, learn how to open the face, learn how to add some loft with your release, and be able to hit that 56 high, soft, spin it. And so, Matt Kuchar's in the same boat. We've talked about this quite a bit. Matt's son, Cameron, is just about to go to TCU, and I think that Matt forced Cameron to have a 56 degree until he was like 15 or 16 years old. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing the same with my son. So learn how to have lower lofted clubs and start to learn how to properly add loft to them around the greens.
Yeah, a lot of amateurs don't understand that when you're hitting the ball downhill, your 56 then becomes maybe a 54. If you're hitting something uphill, your 56 becomes a 58, 59. And in a bunker, I saw this guy last week. He's got a 60-degree wedge, and he's trying to play a standard bunker shot on an upslope. So you can imagine what happens. He's 60 turned into a 65. Yeah. He hits the perfect type of swing, but of course he leaves it in the bunker because it doesn't have enough to get out. This is good stuff. Does the ball matter? Because
for
somebody
what?
made a point. So
for spin.
Well, for everything, because today's clubs are being tried out on the latest golf ball, I'd imagine within the last year, 2 years.
Yep.
So when you get ball hawks that are bringing out balls from 15 years ago, like surely that makes a difference.
Makes a difference, yeah. 1,000,000%. Yeah,
So if you're going to get new wedges, use new balls.
not just new balls, right? Because if you get a brand new set of a brand new sleeve of Pinnacles, I don't care how new your wedges are, you're really not going to be spinning it as well as you could if you had a urethane covered premium golf ball.
Yes.
So and you see it out here a lot. If you want to just talk a little bit about spin, and your players are like, why didn't that ball spin? It's like, okay, well, if you're at Pebble Beach, there's usually moisture on the ground most of the time, right? There's going to be some type of dew, or it's just rained or whatever. Moisture on the ground is going to affect spin. There's going to be slippage. There's going to be the ability for that ball to ride up the face rather than grip onto the face. So moisture plays a role. I'm sure you see guys that have 15-year-old grooves, right? They've played 1,000 rounds of golf with their wedge.
But I like that wedge.
Yeah. and that sort of is going, the groove decay is going to influence less spin.
So there you go. So grooves create spin. Or they help create spin.
Grooves help. They help get the debris away, right? There's always going to be some type of sort of ground contact, especially inside of 30 yards. There's going to be...
Is that what they're there for?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. Because you can spin it with something that doesn't have grooves on it.
A spoon.
Yeah. Because like you look at the faces of drivers, right?
Yeah.
Right? The faces of drivers, you've still got spin. You've still got, like, the faces of drivers nowadays they look like this table, just completely smooth. Wow. There's not grooves on them. And you're still creating 3,000 RPMs, 2,000 to 3,000 RPMs of spin. So the grooves don't necessarily create the spin, but they will help maintain a high level of friction because it helps to sort of channel away some debris that's going to get in there. But yeah, if you're into the grain, we don't have a lot of Bermuda grass here, but into the grain Bermuda, that's going to decrease your spin by 30 or 40%. Moisture is going to usually decrease by 30, 40%. Even on a full shot, it's going to decrease your spin. And if it decreases your spin, it increases your launch angle, and the ball's going to come up short. If you're hitting a 90-yard shot and it's wet, it's raining, whatever, you make a full swing, that ball's most of the time going to come out way too high, and it's going to come out short because it doesn't have the integrity that a ball grabbing on the face, coming out at the proper launch angle, having the proper spin rate, it's going to come out much higher and shorter when you have the water that's going to decrease the spin. Mm-hmm.
I get two questions. There's a Callaway wedge. Is it called it's the high toe?
I think that's a TaylorMade, but yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah, the TaylorMade with all the grooves all the way on the toe.
What's that all about?
It's for, I don't know. It's for people if they do hit the ball way out on the toe to have grooves there. If you're hitting it way out on the toe, like the wedge isn't going to necessarily fix your problems. We gotta look at your path and all kinds of other things before we just say, hey, let's just throw grooves out on the toe and that'll fix everything. I don't think it will.
The first one I'm thinking about was the Mickelson wedge from Callaway.
Yep, that one had the first one. Yep.
Okay, so that's maybe just...
Yep, and then I think TaylorMade kind of copied that one, or I'm not sure who did it first, but you can kind of see Titleist hasn't taken the bait on that one.
The purists. Yeah. Explain bounce.
Yeah, bounce is basically a measurement of the trailing edge to the leading edge, as far as how much the trailing edge is sitting above the leading edge. So if you were to sort of hold your wedge and look out at it.
This is the underneath of the club.
Underneath the sole.
The sole.
The sole of it, yeah. So if you're just kind of to look at the sole, and you'll see a slight rise from leading edge to it's not always the back edge, because sometimes the middle part of it is risen up a bit more, and then the back edge is sort of shaved off. But it's sort of from the leading edge to the top part of that would
The apex.
Yeah, the apex of that sole would be considered bounce. And there is no one bounce fits all, because there's no one swing that fits all. Mm-hmm. So the bounce is really interesting. I think, Voki's got, so many SKUs as far as like different sole shapes, different bounces, ranging anywhere from 4 degrees of bounce all the way to 14 degrees of bounce, ranging from soles that are, an inch wide to soles that are 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide. So there is no one bounce fits all, because everyone's got different swings, and there's no one bounce fits all because you playing here at Pebble Beach is going to be way different than the guy playing in Midland, Texas, with really firm conditions. You guys want 2 completely different tools.
Different utensils for the different recipe.
That's right.
Interesting. Do you coach women differently to men?
No, not really. I mean, sometimes in the bunker is the only time I would see the speed difference, because you need more speed in the bunker. You need a little bit more speed if you're coming from thick rough. That would be the only challenging thing, from talking amateur women to amateur men. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I've always found that amateur women struggle in bunkers. As you say, speed. They're typically told to come in 1 inch behind the ball, but because of biologically, they swing steeper, which means they're going deeper. So I would always try and get them to impact the sand a lot closer to the ball to try and maintain the speed to get through.
Yep.
But when you coach as well, I'm guessing, I remember my wife was a personal trainer, and where she worked, there were these 2 guys, and they had, this is my system. So whether the lady was 60 or the guy was 35, whether, he was super morbid or, they were skinny, they would train them the same way. And I said, that's not personal training. That's kind of him serving himself.
Yep.
You probably coached, you don't have the short game chef way. You take everyone individually. I'm guessing there's a standard.
Yeah.
Try and get close to this.
Yes.
But if not, on an individual basis, you got to treat everyone differently, huh?
Yeah. I think with chipping and putting, it's the motion is much smaller than it is like a full swing. Full swing, I think you really got to sort of take into account the individual and their size, their shape, their strength, their weakness, all that kind of stuff. You need their mobility, right, with their joints, like their mobility with their hamstrings. Like you need to take all that into account.
Are the glutes firing?
Yeah, exactly. With short game, it's not quite as much, right? I mean, I think the simplest motion, I mean, height definitely kind of matters a little bit as far as like how much, people are gripping down on the club or not or whatever. But, for a stock little chip shot, everybody should be able to do that. And so it's like once we get in your sort of right setup position, you should be able to move that club, a foot back and a foot through, and it look, fairly similar to what tour players look like. There's, I've definitely seen, I've gotten even lady amateur golfers to look and hit like little floaty spinning pitch shots from 20 yards, and it looks like Jordan Spieth. It looks like Justin Thomas. It's beautiful. Now I can't get them to hit it 300, but I can get them to hit a little floaty spinner. I can get them to hit a stock sort of bump and run chip shot. Absolutely. I can get them to get their putting stroke in a place, their setup with their putting in a place where they can absolutely like dial in on speed and start line and all that stuff. But, at the end of the day, they're not going to have the time spent that a Jordan Spieth or a Justin Thomas is going to have. And that time spent equals better proprioception and better aim and better, consistency with their speed control and all that stuff.
Question from myself. I always struggle with bunker shots where there's not much sand. Say there's been a lot of water or it's hard pan. Half the time, knife it.
It's a totally different technique.
What's the technique?
I like to get a lot closer to the ball.
Okay.
Because I want to create some real verticality with my swing. I want to go
toe up. Straight up.
No, I just want to take the club straight up.
Yeah.
I just want to hinge it straight up, right? I just want to really get super vertical with it.
Okay.
Because if the more vertical I can get, hopefully the easier I have a time to get underneath that golf ball. So like I want to create some depth. When you get farther away from it, the swing is going to get more rounded.
Yeah.
When you get closer to it, the swing is going to get more vertical. If I can get more vertical, I can hopefully create more depth underneath that golf ball. And that's what you're looking for in those firm hard pan lies. And so I would just create that early set, early hinge this thing straight up, straight down in, and there's almost no follow through.
Almost, so you're right. Okay,
almost no follow through.
Yeah.
Like I'm creating so much down that the follow through almost doesn't even exist. And so I'm, again, I'm for a lie like that, I'm not necessarily looking for like, oh, I'm going to hit like a high, floaty, soft. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm aggressively going down, and hopefully I can get this thing just out 15 feet, right? Mm-hmm. If I've got somewhere long to go, it's much more helpful on those firm lies if it's long. If it's really short-sighted, it's difficult because that ball wants to come out fast, right? On the firm lies, it wants to come out fast. And the big miss on those firm lies is you're going to bounce blade over the green.
Yeah.
So you're trying to create enough depth to sort of almost eliminate the bounce of the club.
Gotcha. What's your maximum distance that you would coach somebody? Like, what does Short Game Chef, draw the line at?
Yeah, probably 125 yards. Yeah.
I've always told people that regardless of your ability, 75% of your shots are from 120 in.
Yeah.
You'd agree
You're
with that?
You're not wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you go to the range and what do they do? Bring out the driver.
All the time.
Got to justify the 700 they just spent. What would be the main issues you'll see high handicappers have with the short game? What are the constant, I see it all the time, picking their head up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but what are the kind
of... The biggest tendency that I see is grabbing their highest lofted wedge, putting it way back in their stance, leaning the hands way forward. But then as they lean their hands forward, their trail shoulder goes down, their lead shoulder goes real high. So now their spine is sort of tilted away from the target.
Yeah.
And so they've got what looks like not much loft because they put the ball back and they've got the hands way forward. Their spine's tilted away from the target. And then sort of like right on the way into impact, they're thinking, oh shit, I'm going to hit this too far. And they try to back out of it and add loft. Contact becomes terrible. Yeah. And then as contact of the ground becomes terrible, they're trying to use their hands to get the club out of the ground. And it's like, it's a disaster all the way around. So setup wise, I would go less back in their stance with the ball position. I would get the shaft a little bit less leaning forward, and I would tilt their spine in a way to where it was much more neutral and it wasn't leaning away from the target. I would say if we can get into those setup conditions, you got a way better chance of like brushing the ground in the right way and making decent contact. And and then I would take away loft. I would be like, let's go from your 60 down to your 56, or let's go from your 56 down to your 52. And let's learn to hit that shot. For the most part, with amateur golfers, high loft is the enemy. The lower loft is much more their friend. Learn to make a simple motion with a 9-iron.
As you explained that shot, and you're showing me kind of across the table, I'm thinking I've seen this movie 50 times last week.
100%. Yes, you see it all the time, and it's just like if you can just straighten their spine out. Yeah. And then negate a little bit of that shot. Like, why are you grabbing a 64 and trying to hit a low chip shot? It makes no sense to me.
Absolutely. Like, you're talking about the recipe, and let's break down what Johnny Hack's listening to this right now. He might be in Glasgow in Scotland. He might be in Melbourne, Australia, or he might be in Hawaii right now. He's going to go out tomorrow, or she's going to go out tomorrow. What is the recipe you're going to be looking for, right? So the utensil is the club.
Yep. So
hit the right club for the right shot.
So what I would say is the best thing you can do is grab your 7-iron, go one step off the green, learn how to get really close to the ball. Hands get high. You're going to get taller in your posture. I would say if you're going to measure it, you'd be 3 club heads away from the golf ball. So your toes are going to be 3 club heads away from the golf ball. And start to see if you can make a putting stroke with that 7-iron from one step off the green to a pin that's 7 steps away from you. If you can learn to do that, now all of a sudden you're learning how to brush the grass the same way that you do with a putter.
With a putter.
So I always ask people, I'm like, when's the last time that you chunked a putt? Literally, legitimately took a chunk with your putter. And people are like, it doesn't matter how bad they are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They have never chunked a putt, like legitimately laid sod over a putt.
Yeah.
I said, well, why do you think that is? Well, because I'm real quiet with my lower body. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right? I'm not trying to hit way down on it. No, you're trying to just make a nice level stroke. And so we take that philosophy into a 7-iron.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, my legs are quiet. I'm in a good setup and posture, and then I make what feels like a very similar type of putting stroke with a 7-iron.
Yeah.
And then you take another step back and you go with a 9-iron. So now you're 2 steps off the green with a 9-iron. And now you go 3 steps off the green with a 52 degree or 50 degree.
Yeah.
And now you're making that same motion. And if you can do that, now all of a sudden you're teaching how to stay, we call it arc depth, have a shallow arc depth, the same way you would with a putter. Putter has a very shallow arc depth. Putter's not going subterranean like you would with a bunker shot. Mm-hmm. We don't want to go subterranean when we're in the fairway. We want to be able to stay real close to the top of the ground, brush it, bruise it, right? That's all we're looking to do. But you have to train that, and that's where I would start that training.
Right.
Grab a 7-iron.
Gotcha. So, like Johnny Hack's 24 handicap, he walks up every pitch shot or every short game shot he's got, break it down. You want to try and keep it as close. Can I keep it, low to the ground?
I would start there, absolutely.
Don't go for too much loft. Where are you in acceleration?
It depends on the type of shot, but I think I
see a lot of people love to decel.
Yeah, they love to decel, and again, they create. What I would say, they create a lot of ball speed in the backswing. So they take it long, a lot of hinge. Again, ball position back, handle way forward. That all creates ball speed.
Yeah.
So intuitively, if they're going to hit a 10-yard shot and they've got all this ball speed built up, what are they going to do? They're going to slow down. Mm-hmm. They're going to slow down and try to dump it all out and add loft on the way through, and it never turns out very well. What I would say is that the progression would be, and this is just sort of what I've noticed over the last handful of years, but the progression would be, if you're an amateur golfer, learn how to chip with lower lofted clubs, 7, 9 gap wedge. Get good with those.
Yeah.
And then you can graduate, and we see high school players, college players, and mini tour and professional golfers that get really good with one club. Usually they're 58 or 60. They get really good with that club. And then I've walked probably 10 or 12 practice rounds in the last 18 months with Scotty Scheffler. Mm-hmm. And I've watched him because I work with Sam Burns, who's his best friend. And
good
so
mates,
they play all their practice rounds together. So I've been lucky enough to kind of be inside the ropes and watch Scotty work. He will take a bouquet of wedges down to a spot. Like we were at Oakmont in number 3, 1, 2, 3. And he took 4 wedges down there and hit a variety of shots to different pins with each wedge. And he's really good with a variety of wedges. So it's sort of like that progression goes from the amateur golfer getting good with the lower lofted clubs. And then if you're really good, you start to progress and you're like, okay, I'm really good with one club.
Yeah.
And then if you want to get great, you go to like, okay, now I got to get really good again with my 9-iron, my gap wedge, my pitching wedge, my 9-iron, my pitching wedge, my gap wedge, my sand wedge, and my lob wedge. That's where I think Scotty Scheffler is, and I think a lot of the really, really world-class players, they can chip and pitch with any club in their bag.
Interesting. And then amateur golfers should get across to www.shortgamechef.com.
100%. That's the spot to get all my best info. I broke it down in bite-size ways so that each video is really short. It's like between 1.5 minutes and 3.5 minutes long, and they just kind of go chronological as to like, here's how we're going to build your bunker game. Mm-hmm. Here's how we're going to build your pitch shots. Here's how we're going to build your flop shots, and it's super, super digestible.
Chocolate mousse, apple pie, different recipe. I love that. I'd never thought about the chef part, but now you've explained that. It's fantastic. And you're working with some some of the guys top pros now.
Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky enough to work with a number of tour players, from Tom Kim and Colin Morikawa and Sam Burns and Keith Mitchell currently, and yeah, it's been neat to be able to spend, Anna Nordquist, who won the women's Open. We had started together probably a year and a half before that, and it was really neat to see her. We started together. She was 95th in the world and not happy with where her game was, and we spent a lot of time working on that short game to get her confidence up, and she ended up winning that women's British Open, and she ended up finishing, I think, 15th in the world at the end of that year.
Wow,
so up from nice. 95th. That to me was one of the highlights of my coaching career, was being a part of that.
Do you miss being a full-time golfer?
I think there's moments where, yes. I think when you're playing really good golf, there's not much more that's fun than like controlling your golf ball and just going out and knowing that you're going to shoot 6, 7, 8 under. Like that is so fun. Mm-hmm. And then being in the heat of battle and all that stuff is so fun. But when it's going sideways and you don't know where it's going, or it feels a little hesitant, and like I'm so glad that I'm not doing that anymore. Right. So there's parts that I feel like, yes, I miss it, but also I'm so, I don't miss it at all.
Yeah. Do you prefer being a coach or playing? Or better both?
Yeah. I mean, I appreciated the playing part of it. I think I was built to be an athlete. I was built to, like, mentally, like, that was, I was really, really competitive my whole life in everything I did. I mean, like, almost too competitive, where I would lose friends over ping pong matches that meant nothing, but it meant everything to me. And so that's just who I was. And
I think you grow out of that, though. Like, I used to lose. I used to start pool cues. I was horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think as you get older, you maybe
agreed
mellow a little bit.
Yeah, agreed. And I was never like I was never angry. I was just always just really competitive.
Oh, I was angry.
Yeah. So but I was just So but I think that there's I've grown out of that a little bit, but there's still that competitive fire that's in me, that I'm trying to find other ways to be competitive in business and in creating the things that I'm creating, and there's some neat things with short game that I've done that like creating these flight lines on Vokey wedges, for instance, stimulated my creativity of, like, how can I help my amateur golfers get better? And so I created these 3 lines on the hosel, and the people at Vokey, adopted it, and you can go buy it on their Wedgeworks site, and it's a way to help you set up to 3 different trajectory shots like tour players. And we measured out tour players, and it's like, this is how you set up to these shots. And so it like, that stuff is sort of taken my competitiveness, and it's sort of channeled it into some creativity, learning. I mean, I'm learning how to become a better businessman, and the right practices, and now I'm starting to get these opportunities where it's like, people want me to start to design short game areas and start to design short courses.
Oh, how fantastic.
And I'm like, well, that's fun too. Like, I want to sink my teeth into that. That's neat.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's other opportunities that are kind of coming that are like, wow, I'm not just in this like one competitive space of like, oh, I have to put up a 68 today. It's like, there's a lot more variety and a lot of interesting things that are sort of coming out of this new career that is sort of blossomed over the last 6 years. My
final question was actually, what does the next 10 years hold for you? But that's probably it. More coaching.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the one-to-one coaching is fun. I love seeing people get better in an hour, 2 hours. I love coaching tour players because they can kind of do anything I ask them to do.
Yeah. I take it with those guys, you're just making very small changes.
Very small. Yeah, just trying to get them back to where, hey, this is where you play your best. You don't play you don't play your best from like being way out and over and across it on these bunker shots. You've just been playing too many tournament rounds and missing it short-sighted too often. Let's get you back towards your mean. But all that stuff is fun. I think that I think the creativity part of it, thinking about different training aids, different ways to help the amateur golfer get better, enjoy the game more, that part of it's really neat. I do think that the creating these short courses, creating short game areas that are functional, that are thoughtful, that really help people actually stimulate them, get their creativity going, but also help them get better, help them practice better. That part to me is also really exciting. I think that's what the sort of the near future is going to hold, and that'll be kind of fun. So I called Ben Crenshaw a couple weeks back, and I said, hey, I've gotten a couple of these opportunities to, people reaching out want me to start designing a short game area or designing a short course. Like, could I come shadow you? And he's like, absolutely. Come on out to Pinehurst. We're doing something next spring, and come out in like January, February. So it's like, that kind of stuff is like, well, that's pretty neat. That's cool stuff. Yeah.
All the way from Hawaii. I love it. Absolutely fantastic. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming in. I'm sure if you're not already following Parker, Short Game Chef, Instagram, YouTube, and then shortgamechef.com. And why not try it out? I might try it myself.
Let's do it.
Excellent. Well, listen, as I say, thank you very much for coming in. Have a great week out here this week. And, we didn't even open the door and all the other stuff. I love the idea of the short game at your home in your garden. Brilliant.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Pleasure. Listeners, 166 previous episodes. Get out, listen to them all. Share it, like it, enjoy your golf, but more importantly, keep it humble.